Travel across the country, and you'll find that every state in the Union is uniquely different from the next. Some of them are just downright weird, and Vermont might just be the weirdest. Let's go over a few of the reasons why I think this is, and you can judge whether or not that's a fair assessment. Number 5. Pedestrians don't wait for traffic. This might be one of those things that my home state does differently, so it seems weird to me. Where I come from, a pedestrian will look both ways and wait for traffic to pass before crossing a street if there isn't a crosswalk signal. However, when driving through the largest city in Vermont, Burlington, the pedestrians just jump out in front of vehicles. It's like they think the crosswalk is an invisibility force field or something. Don't get me wrong, I do think that they should have the right of way, but they need to give drivers enough time to react. According to the local ordinance, pedestrians should not suddenly leave a curb or other safe place to walk into the path of a vehicle, but they do it anyway. Driving around there, I was afraid that I was going to accidentally run someone over. Number 4. They use the same name for different locations. I had a coworker from Barry, or as she called it, Barrytown. She told me that there is the city of Barry, which is an approximate circle. Surrounding that is what she described as a donut, which is Barrytown. So I looked this up to see what she was talking about. Apparently, these really are two different incorporated areas with separate governments in the same general location that just happen to both be called Barry. Barry City has the downtown area, while Barrytown is more of a suburban area. There are also two unincorporated villages called East Barry and South Barry. Not confusing at all. You'll also find this in the Rutland area. There's Rutland County, Rutland City, and Rutland Town. Both the city and the town are within the county. Rutland City is the third largest city in Vermont, so it has the downtown and shopping areas. Just like with the Barrys, Rutland Town surrounds Rutland City and acts as a residential suburb, basically. Oh, and there's also the town of West Rutland. From what I can tell, Vermonters just really like confusing the outsiders, or as they call them, flatlanders. Number 3. Politically, they're all over the map. In most states, it tends to be that the heavily populated areas lean blue and the rural areas lean red. In Vermont, the entire state is rural. The population of the state is only about 17,000 more than the city of Portland, Oregon. Vermont's largest city only has a population estimated to be around 44,500. In fact, they only have 4 communities with more than 10,000 people living there, so some might think Vermont would be more conservative. On the other hand, this is one of the more educated states, and it's located in New England, so some might assume that it's a liberal state. And somehow, both of those things are true. Everyone knows the senior senator from Vermont is Bernie Sanders, and he's known to refer to himself as a socialist, so he's run his campaigns as an independent. The other senator from the Green Mountain State is Peter Welch, who is a Democrat. The 2024 presidential race saw a majority of Vermonters vote for Kamala Harris. But, on the other hand, Vermont has a Republican governor, Phil Scott, who won re-election this year with 73% of the vote. The lieutenant governor's race this year saw Progressive Party candidate David Zuckerman get defeated by Republican John Rogers by about 14,000 votes. Basically, the people of Vermont are independent-minded, and they'll vote for whomever they think is the best person for the job, regardless of party. It's quite different in this regard than most other states. Number 2, healthcare. It's no secret that healthcare is one of the most regulated industries in the U.S., and as it should be, but Vermont is a little strange when it comes to exactly how it regulates healthcare. Typically, states will have a Department of Public Health that oversees healthcare organizations and providers. They do things like conduct inspections and issue certificates of need for new buildings, that sort of thing. Vermont has the Green Mountain Care Board. Back in 2011, the legislature started the process of trying to bring single-payer coverage to Vermont. Part of that process was creating the Green Mountain Care Board, which is a group of 5 members who are appointed by the governor to serve for 6 years. One of the things that they're tasked with is trying to keep healthcare costs down for Vermonters, but some of the ways they do that seem a bit weird to me. For one thing, they're able to set budgets for the hospitals. If a hospital earns more revenue than anticipated, then they can be penalized. We're not talking profit here, just straight revenue. This is currently an issue with the state's largest hospital, the University of Vermont Medical Center, or UVMMC as locals call it. Each year, the hospitals go over their budget with the board to get it approved, and they project how much revenue that they think they'll bring in, which UVMMC did. However, they underestimated their revenue for a few different factors. One was that they received some grants that were unexpected, and another was that they ended up treating more patients than anticipated. When you treat more patients, you make more revenue. That's just how it is. As a result, the Green Mountain Care Board has said that UVMMC will have to lower the prices that they charge to commercial insurance payers, and they'll have to give back $80 million. That's a rather large chunk of change, so the way that UVMMC is going to be able to give back the money is by reducing operating expenses. They're going to do this by reducing the number of patients who stay overnight at UVMMC, eliminate kidney transplants, so those needing one will be sent to Dartmouth in neighboring New Hampshire, closing the dialysis clinics that they own, consolidating some of the family medicine clinics, closing an inpatient psych unit at their other hospital, Central Vermont Medical Center, and by cutting administrative costs, which means that at the end of January, around 200 employees are losing their jobs. I don't really understand why the GMCB wants to limit revenue. I can understand if they wanted to cap profit. That would make sense to me, because in my home state, if healthcare organizations go over a certain profit percentage, they lose their nonprofit status. But by making UVMMC give back such a large sum, patients are going to be impacted. Some may even die from not being able to receive treatment, so having a board with this kind of power seems weird to me. Oh, and the whole purpose of the creation of the board, Vermont going to single-payer healthcare, that plan was scrapped back in December 2014. So why does the board still exist? It seems to me that it's possibly causing harm to Vermonters. Number 1, you can be naked in public, as long as you leave your house that way. As far as I know, most states have laws against being naked in public, but Vermont is a little different. They don't have a problem with skinny dippers or run-of-the-mill nudists, but they draw the line at pervs. So they have a law that says you can't disrobe outdoors, but you can be nude so long as you left your home, car, or place of employment that way. According to someone I know who lives in Burlington, there's a man who leaves his house in nothing but socks and tennis shoes to go stroll Church Street where the tourists hang out. He's known to all the locals and no one bats an eye at him anymore. There are a few places within the state where local ordinances dictate that you can't be naked, like North Beach in Burlington and the village of Wilmington, but generally, in Vermont, you're free to let it all hang out, so to speak. So, what do you think? Is Vermont the weirdest state in the nation? Let me know your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, subscribe or become a member of the channel to see more content like this. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I remain stuck in the cornfield.